Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're tackling a work that really sits at the intersection of, well, the highest philosophy and the absolute lowest despair. Our mission is to take these sources and turn them into actionable insight for you.
Yeah, we're plunging into the final monumental work of Anicius Manlius Severinus
The
Boethius.
Consolation of Philosophy.
And this is a deep dive into a profound existential crisis. We're talking about a man in the 6th century who had, basically everything.
He was the ultimate Roman success story, wasn't he?
Absolutely. He was consul in 510 AD, and then in this moment of just unparalleled triumph, he sees his own two sons appointed as consuls in the same year, 522.
And he was serving the Ostrogothic king Theodoric, right? A very high-ranking, trusted official.
He was, and he was a statesman, a massive intellect, but crucially, he was seen as a profoundly virtuous man. His deep-seated Christianity, his commitment to justice, it led him to stand up for oppressed Italians against corruption.
He even named names, which is always risky.
He did, Conegastus, Trigula, and that integrity is precisely what ruined him. He was falsely charged with treason, stripped of everything, thrown into prison, and was just waiting for a brutal, torturous execution.
And that's the crisis that fuels this entire book. I mean, if you, the listener, believe the world is governed by a good, rational, divine force, how do you even process that? The most just man is completely destroyed by injustice.
That's the core question he's screaming into the void. If God is good and governs everything, why does evil exist and why does it seem to win?
So that's the knot we have to untangle. We're going to trace his journey from that utter desolation to a complete philosophical resolution.
And what's remarkable is that he does it using purely rational, almost pagan philosophical methods.
Yeah.
For a devoted Christian, that's a fascinating choice.
Okay, let's get into it. We begin in book 1.
Mm.
Boethius is just weeping in his cell. This isn't philosophical contemplation yet. It's just pure, raw grief.
He's writing these mournful poems, lamenting how his glorious life has just catastrophically ended. He feels totally abandoned.
And his lament is interrupted.
It is. By this figure of immense power. Philosophy, personified as a majestic woman, just appears before him.
And her appearance itself is loaded with meaning.
Oh, completely. It's all allegory. Her height, for instance, it keeps changing. Sometimes she's ordinary, sometimes her head touches the heavens.
Which symbolizes that philosophy can be grounded, but its truths can also reach, the divine.
Exactly. And what she's wearing is crucial. Her robe has these Greek symbols woven into it, pi for practical philosophy, and theta for the theoretical.
So she represents the entire tradition of wisdom.
The whole thing. But the text makes a point of saying her robe is torn.
Right, and she explains that was done by rough men.
Yeah, people like the Stoics or the Epicureans who she says tried to grab a piece of her legacy and claim their little fraction was the whole truth.
And she's not there to offer a shoulder to cry on?
Not at all. She takes one look at Boethius and his sad poems and calls the muses who inspired them seductive mummers who just make the pain worse with poisonous sweets.
So she basically tells him to snap out of it, stop wallowing.
Pretty much. Her diagnosis is that he's suffering from a kind of philosophical drowsiness. He's forgotten the most essential things about himself.
And Boethius then, he launches into his defense, right? He lists all the good things he did.
He does. He lays out his whole case and ends with that massive challenge. If God is, whence come evil things? If he is not, whence come good?
But philosophy just brings him right back. She says his despair is based on a fundamental mistake.
A huge one. He thinks he's been exiled from Rome. She tells him, no, your true home isn't some flawed state ruled by men. It's the state ruled by God.
She says he drove himself into exile.
Yes. The moment he forgot his own essential nature, that he's a reasoning and mortal animal, not just his body or his titles or his wealth, the remedy begins right there.
Okay, so that brings us to where she starts the demolition work in books 2 and 3. She systematically tears down all the false goods that Boethius is grieving.
And she starts by channeling the voice of Fortune herself. It's a brilliant move.
And was Fortune's defense?
It's radical. Fortune basically says, I haven't changed. This is who I've always been. My very nature is constant change.
The turning of the wheel.
The turning of the wheel. She says, when you accepted my gifts, the success, the wealth, you accepted the terms of the loan. I'm just calling it due.
So let's break down those loans. First up, riches. Why are they a false good?
Well, for one, they're just temporary loans, not real possessions. But the deeper problem is they don't actually satisfy you. They just create new, more complicated wants.
Right. You get money to buy land, then you need more money for security guards for the land. It never ends.
And it attracts danger. The very thing you buy for security, wealth, makes you a target for the robber with his cudgel and sword. You're actually less safe.
Okay, so riches are out. What about power and honor?
Same logical breakdown. Giving an honor to a wicked person doesn't make them good. It just shines a huge spotlight on their corruption.
The text has that great line from Catullus calling a high official nonius a diseased growth. The honor just made the disease more public.
Exactly. And power is an illusion of strength. If you're a tyrant, you live in constant fear of your subjects. You fear them far more than they fear you.
That's the whole Damocles analogy, isn't it? The sword hanging over your head.
It is. And look at the historical examples she uses. Nero forced his own tutor, Seneca, one of the greatest minds of the age, to commit suicide.
So if your power can't even protect the best people around you or even yourself from someone else's whim, how can it be a true good?
It can't. And then there's fame. Boethius really wanted fame so his virtue wouldn't grow aged in silence.
And philosophy just destroys the idea of fame.
Utterly annihilates it. First, she says it's geographically tiny. Cicero himself knew that the fame of Rome, the center of the world, hadn't even reached the Caucasus Mountains.
And then there's the time aspect.
Which is even more damning. She puts human fame up against the unending length of eternity. Compared to that, a reputation that lasts 1,000 years is, and I quote, not even small, but it is absolutely nothing.
So why anchor your happiness in the tattle of other men instead of your own conscience?
Oh, exactly. So the takeaway is clear. Riches, power, honor, fame, they all fail because they're external, they're temporary, and you can never truly possess them.
Okay, so having stripped away every false comfort, she has to build a complete replacement. This is the crucial part in Book 3. She argues that happiness is a simple, single thing.
Right, not a collection of parts. She defines true happiness as having all at once the perfect possession of 5 qualities: satisfaction, power, veneration, renown, and pleasure.
And the mistake we make is trying to get them one by one.
Yes, if you chase power alone, you end up lacking satisfaction. You become anxious. You can't divide the highest good. If you could get all 5 of those external goods, they would form a whole. But since they're all fleeting, you have to find the source that is the unified whole.
And that source, she argues, has to be God.
It must be. If God is the fountainhead of all things and nothing is superior to God, then God must be the perfect good. Therefore, God is absolute happiness. They are one and the same.
She then connects existence itself to this idea of unified good, which is a fascinating move.
It really is. She argues that all that exists is one and that the good itself is one. To be unified is to exist.
How does that work?
Well, think about it. Everything in the universe seeks unity to preserve itself. A mind and body stick together to make an animal. A plant holds its roots in the earth. Even a rock resists being broken. To lose unity is to perish.
So because everything wants to exist, and existence depends on unity, everything desires the good. Because the good is that state of perfect unity.
It is the aim of all things, which leads to this beautiful corollary. Since we become happy by acquiring happiness, and happiness itself is divine.
Then every happy man is divine by participation.
When you strive for true goodness, you are striving for divinity.
Wow. That reframes everything. And that has to lead us into part 4, where the original problem that the wicked seem so powerful gets resolved.
Precisely. If all men seek the highest good, which is happiness, but only good men can actually get it, then good men are the ones who are truly powerful.
And the evil, by constantly failing to get what they ultimately want, happiness, are actually weak.
They are failing at the most important task of being human, which sets up the most radical claim of the book.
The non-existence of evil men. I have to stop you there. That sounds absurd. I see a violent robber. They certainly seem to exist. What does she mean by non-existence?
It's a statement about their human existence. By falling away from the good, from the unity of reason that defines what it is to be human, they cease also to exist as men.
They just have the outward shape of a human.
The outward bodily form of their humanity is the phrase. But their moral reality is broken. They've transformed internally into beasts.
She uses the Circe myth here, right?
Yes, and it's a brilliant contrast. Circe's magic only changed the sailors' bodies into pigs, but their minds stayed human. Philosophy says vice is worse. It changes the soul. A violent man becomes a wolf, a litigious man a hound, a lustful man a swine. They lose their reason.
That's a heavy-duty moral claim, and it leads straight to this paradox of punishment, that the wicked are more unhappy when they go unpunished.
It seems totally backward to us, but in her moral framework it makes perfect sense. Punishment is a form of justice, and justice is a good thing.
So receiving punishment actually adds a small measure of good, a moral correction, to their miserable state.
Whereas impunity, getting away with it, just adds another layer of injustice, a deeper evil to their soul. It makes them sicker.
So we should pity the wrongdoer, not the victim.
Yes, because the wrongdoer is the one who is truly deeply unwell. It's a massive paradigm shift, and it sets up the final conclusion of this section.
Which is
All fortune is plainly good.
all of it, even the unjust condemnation, the imprisonment waiting for execution.
Yes, because all fortune is administered by a good providence. So it either rewards the good, exercises their virtue by testing them, like with Boethius, or it punishes and corrects the wicked. There is no such thing as meaningless bad luck.
That's a profound and difficult conclusion. Which brings us to the final intellectual knot in Book V, Providence, Fate, and Free Will. First, what about things that seem random? Does chance exist?
Philosophy defines chance not as randomness, but as an unexpected result from the coincidence of certain causes. Her example is a classic. You dig in a field to plant crops, but you find buried gold.
So the digging had a purpose, and the burying of the gold had a purpose.
Yeah.
Their intersection was just unexpected.
Exactly. Even chance is part of a larger order. Now, the crucial distinction, providence versus fate.
Okay, lay it out for us.
Providence is God's simple, unified, unchanging divine reason. Think of it like the architect's perfect, complete blueprint for a house existing all at once in their mind.
And fate.
Fate is the working out of that plan in time. It's the sequence of construction crews, the delivery of lumber, all the subordinate steps that execute the plan. Fate is subject to providence, like the rim of a wheel is subject to the fixed center.
Which brings us to the core problem, the foreknowledge dilemma. If God knows infallibly what I'm going to do, doesn't that mean my action is necessary, that I don't have free will?
That's the ancient complaint. If the outcome is predetermined, what's the point of laws, morality, or even prayer?
And this is where philosophy drops the solution to the whole thing. The nature of God's knowledge in eternity.
Right. And she defines eternity as the simultaneous and complete possession of infinite life.
Whoa, okay, hold on. Simultaneous and complete. Let's break that down, because that doesn't just mean a really long time.
Not at all. It means that for God, there is no past or future. God sees the entire timeline, all of it, in a single ever-present moment. His knowledge isn't foreknowledge. It's a never-failing, instantaneous present knowledge, a looking forth.
So when God sees my future choice, he's seeing it as if it's happening in his eternal now.
Exactly.
But does his seeing it make it necessary? This is that conditional versus simple necessity idea, right?
Yes, and the walking analogy makes it pretty clear. If you see a man walking right now, it is conditionally necessary that he is walking because you are observing it. But the act itself is voluntary. He could stop.
The necessity comes from your observation, not from the act itself.
Right. So applied to God. God sees my future free choice in his eternal present. That makes it necessary only under the condition of his divine knowledge. But in its own nature, when I make the choice in my timeline, it's perfectly free.
Divine insight doesn't force the choice. It just sees the free choice being made. Our freedom of judgment remains intact.
It does. God is the constant, all-seeing overseer, but we are the free agents in time.
What a monumental journey. I mean, we started with a man weeping in a cell, convinced the universe was unjust.
And we end with the realization that everything, even apparent suffering, is part of a purposeful, universal order guided by a perfectly good force.
The book gives him the ultimate intellectual consolation. It assures him and you that even in the face of ruin, your moral freedom and your connection to the divine good are untouchable.
Which leads to that final, urgent call to action from philosophy. Turn, therefore, from vice. Ensue virtue. Raise your soul to upright hopes. Send up on high your prayers from this earth.
And that brings us to our final provocative thought for you, the listener. You've walked this path with Boethius, and you've heard the conclusion that all fortune is plainly good, because it either rewards, exercises, or corrects.
So if you truly internalize that concept, that every single struggle is a trial designed to strengthen your virtue or correct an error, what single common phrase describing a daily misfortune must you now stop using?
If your car breaks down, if you miss a flight, if a deal falls through, if that's not bad luck, but a form of correction or exercise, then what do you even call it? The choice is yours, what kind of fortune you choose to make for yourself.
We'll be here next time, diving deep into whatever sources you bring us. Until then, stay curious.